They had the entire scroll of Isaiah, and it was discovered hundreds of years even before the time of Jesus, and it was like almost the same, almost exactly the same as the version of Isaiah we have today. Then we have the New Testament that has over 5,000 just Greek manuscripts alone. You have like the historian Josephus. We know that Jesus is a historical figure, that Pontius Pilate is a historical figure. So when we're looking at the historical reliability and consistency of the Bible, I think it's hard for any historical document to really come close to what we have with the Bible.
Add on to that, we can look at the manuscripts compared to the original, where they were closely written around the same time period, and so it was easy to compare and find those inconsistencies to make it the same.
And I think that when we talk about with this prompt, is the Bible a historical, reliable document, we have to really talk about, well, what is the standard for that? And I think that when we look at historical standards for an ancient text like this, we look at, hey, what we can verify, does it actually check out? Do those names, do those cities, those places, do they actually check out? If Jesus said, I was walking along in the land of Nod, and Nod never existed, then that would go against his credibility. That would go against the credibility of the Bible. What we see is everywhere that it makes a verifiable claim, it has checked out archaeologically. We also see that it hasn't been tampered with. And furthermore, we even see that from extra biblical sources that confirm that these events exist. So I think from an ancient historical reliability standard, it doesn't only just meet the bar, it far exceeds works of its time.
I think the Bible is definitely reliable. It was written approximately 1,500 to 2,000 years ago by over 40 different authors within 3 different continents in, I believe, 3 different languages. And it all tells one consecutive story, the story of Jesus Christ. So I think it's pretty reliable.
Cool. And now it's time to bring up everyone that disagrees.
I want to start this one because this is actually going to go back to my Christian roots. I think it's based on true events. I really think there is underlying truth there of things that did happen. But there's parts that don't make a lot of sense. We know that people can't live to be 900 years old, but if you impose a lunar calendar over that time period, which was very common to be used across the globe during that time period, then the math works. They'd be living to 70, 80 years old solar years. So it makes sense and it's logical. Cool. You took a story and you embellished a little bit. We all do that. That's good authorship. The problem I run into is how much was left out at the Council of Nicaea in 332, when the Roman Empire was deciding what books made it and what books didn't.
But that's actually a misconception of what the Council of Nicaea did. They didn't decide what books of the Bible were coming in and were coming out. That wasn't even the purpose of the Council of Nicaea. That's a common misunderstanding of the whole
But every
council
book
itself.
that challenged the power of the church, such as the Gospel of St. Thomas, was purposely left out.
Well, we had the canonical Bible as we know it before the Council of Nicaea. So why works like the Gospel of Thomas were deemed as heretical and not reliable historical documents was precisely for the reason I said. When you look at a historical document, you look at theological consistency, you look at was it tampered with, is there evidence of tampering, and you look at, hey, does it make verifiable claims, and what claims that we can actually verify, do those actually check out? And the Gospel of Thomas did not check out. It listed areas, locations, and times and events that didn't exist or didn't exist at that time.
And throw that out. That's cool.
Okay.
But we're leaving out the part that it was a dying empire who switched their entire faith system to keep from dying.
But
so
I'm not talking about
there's got to be some
intention.
manipulation there.
Well, I think he's taking issue with, I think maybe you two said it's not been manipulated. I think it's demonstrably been manipulated in this way, whether for good or ill, legitimate or not. To say it hasn't been manipulated or messed with.
Can you show the evidence for that?
Can I show the evidence of books that aren't in the Bible?
Yeah, can you show evidence?
Asking for negative.
There's a
Can you
King
show
James
evidence?
edition, so I think that's kind of...
There are many translations,
They're
but the
not
Bible
just
has not been
translations, so
rewritten.
things are changed and
There are many translations.
Yeah, there's translations.
I think
there's
you're talking
versions.
about scribal errors
The
or
end
like
of
different
Mark
translations.
seems to
Is
have
that what
been
you're saying?
added later.
The end of
what
Mark,
about
Mark
the
chapter
end of Mark?
16, verses 9 through 20. What happened was, and that's actually included in the King James Version, but it's not included in the newer versions of the Bible. Why? The Bible wasn't changed. It's as we make more archaeological discoveries, we find what's closer and closer to the original source document. And what we found was, yes, verses of Mark, chapter 16, verses 9 through 20, people don't believe it was maliciously added, but it's almost like notes were added into the page, and when it was transcribed and translated, the authors at that time thought, hey, this actually belongs here. But when we find archaeological discoveries, this is the actual Word of God, and that was added later. That's why our newer copies, we don't change it. What we've done is we've gotten closer to it.
That you're describing a change to me.
Even if nothing had been changed, even if nothing had been changed, that doesn't necessarily prove that everything in it is factual. Like in 200 years, we're probably gonna have extremely accurate works of the Harry Potter series. They're gonna be able to look back, like even maybe even 1,000 years from now, they're gonna be able.
From a reliable, ancient historical text.
He brought up the fact that like we have all these manuscripts that like they all like we can see like they all like agree with each other. They are the same thing. The things are written that are the same. But in 1,000 years, if we find that for the Harry Potter series, and like, oh my God, look, they all agree. The story is internally
different,
the
though.
story
That's fundamentally
is like
different. And I think that's
overarching.
intellectually dishonest when you talk about it like that.
I don't think
because,
it is.
well, if I can explain, right? So the prompt is the Bible a reliable historical document? When we talk about that, we have to look at for its time period. Is it actually a reliable
Today
historical
doesn't count.
document? No, I'm talking about when we're talking about it as a reliable historical document. For Harry Potter, it never claims to be actual truth. The author of Harry Potter never said, this is actual truth.
So you're saying everything in the Bible is true? Or it claims to be
There
true?
are
Is that what you're
some
saying?
fictional
Every
works
author
that do say that.
in the Bible claims that what they wrote for was truth. So
Say
that
that
it does
or-
make that claim.
It does. Oh, and then
Yeah.
we want to clarify. So like when the sun stayed in the sky and they walked around Jericho, that
Yeah.
actually happened? And
Yes,
the earth
so-
didn't just spin away from the sun?
So
and
and pay attention
I
to
don't know.
what I'm saying here. I'm not saying that we can prove every single thing yet. I'm not saying that we can do that, but I'm saying what we can prove and what we can check. For example, cities, times, locations, people, all of those
What makes it
historically
different from the
check out.
Quran then?
The Quran is theologically inconsistent, so that's exactly what I'm talking about.
The Bible is theologically.
You would have to show me a theological inconsistency.
If she
then.
showed
And
you
that's
a
part of the
consistency,
problem when
would
you're
you
arguing
believe it?
about a belief, which is the whole reason I won't label myself, is because beliefs are unchangeable. And it always comes down to the prove it fallacy.
Well,
Sure.
I mean, my belief changed. I was an agnostic. I'm guessing similar to your position, where I didn't know, I didn't think you could prove God, so therefore I just didn't know. I was operating in that. Well, there's no way to prove it.
But
I
is
don't
that
know.
fixed?
But
Are you
now
never
I
going to
changed
grow
my
ever
belief.
again? Is that just what you believe forever and ever? Like
No,
if
well,
new evidence was
You're saying you can't change beliefs. That's what you said. You can't change beliefs, but I
When?
changed my belief.
I'm saying it's extremely difficult
Okay,
to
so
change
it's extremely
beliefs.
difficult.
It is possible, but it is extremely rare because you automatically are coming from the point that you are right. That's just all of
And
us.
then
It's
that
a
point,
natural
though,
flaw in
also would
people.
point back to you because you're here arguing your beliefs. You also are coming to
Oh, I'm
this
arguing my
discussion with your
ideas
own
and thoughts,
beliefs.
which are malleable and can change with new evidence.
And we also
I-
can change with
Oh,
new
come
evidence,
on.
but
We all have
you're falling
beliefs
subject to
here.
your own
We all
claims
have
right
a
now.
position. I think it's a little dishonest to pretend that we're all just floating in the wind. We're all just perfectly rational, flexible, intellectually flexible beings who can change at whatever evidence we're presented. Of course, we all have biases and we all have preconceptions we're bringing into this. I don't think it's necessarily honest to pretend like that isn't the case, you know?
I think
I
there's
understand what you're saying. All I'm saying is
I get what you're saying.
I don't base my entire identity on a belief.
Yeah.
right?
But you did
Right.
base your understanding of what books were added and not added on the belief that the Council of Nicaea did that.
No, he's,
Oh, for
that was,
sure,
he's
because
saying,
I
but
spent,
that- which is
I
incorrect.
spent years trying to be a Christian.
he's saying the Council
I
of
spent most of
Nicaea.
my life trying.
He's saying the Council of Nicaea is evidence that the Bible
But
may not be
he
reliable.
cited
is
that
what he's
evidence
saying.
incorrectly. He
But
said that the
that's fine, but it's not
yeah.
a belief. That's not a belief. He's citing evidence, a meeting that happened.
Oh, I see what you're
Revisions that
saying.
happened.
He's
He's not
saying
saying
that
I
this
believe
was-
it. He's saying no,
but-
that's evidence that the
I
Bible may
see
not
what
be
you're
true.
saying in that.
I'm
yeah.
not a religious scholar. I just have something I'm a little curious about.
Yeah.
So we did talk about how there is a lot of different versions of the Bible, different translations, things like that, and it has been edited and revised a lot over the time. And I guess the thing I would just like to put out there is I think it's a little naive to suggest that a book that has been so dominant and culturally and politically influential was never altered intentionally.
Well, I think and I think that's a very valid and fair point. But to answer that, what we mean by that the Bible hasn't changed is it would be like as if we had a dinosaur head, right?